لكم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوما مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يعطيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما أملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعموا من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إنا أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متقعون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتاز اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أذل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اسلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون. ومن نعمره ننقصه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون. وما علمناه شعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين. لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مهزرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي ينشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأكثر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
Next we'll have recitation of Surah Mulk by Nurli Ismail, brother of Murhuma, Sugrabai, Anverali, Ramji. Please welcome him with a Nari Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق السبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فتور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلنا رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزانتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نأكل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صفات ويكبسن مما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنساكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي زاركم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين فلما رأوا زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يدير الكافرين من عذاب أليم قل هو الرحمن آمنا به وإليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم إن أسمى ماءكم غورا فمن يأتكم بماء معين صدق الله العلي العظيم سورة الفاتحة
Next, we'll have the recitation of two Marsiya in honor of the Ahlul Bayt. The first one by Brother Hussain Datu, followed by Brother Iqbal Manji. Please welcome Hussain Datu with an Nare Salawat.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. شب و شبیر دیتے تھے یہ رو رو کے صدا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. ہے جہاں پر آپ ہم کو بھی بلا لیجیے وہیں، آپ کی فرقت میں دل کو چین اب آتا نہیں. یاد ہم کو آ رہی ہے آپ کی بے انتہا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. دل پھٹا جاتا ہے ہم کیسے بھلائے آپ کو، ایک بار آ کر تو اماں حال میرا دیکھ لو. آنکھ سے آنسو رواں ہے، دل تڑپتا ہے میرا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. ہائے رو رو کے حسن بولے بھلا نہ پاؤں گا، قبر پر نانا کی جا کر بات یہ بتلاؤں گا. سامنے میرے تماچا آپ کو مارا گیا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. جانتی تھی آپ پیاسا رہ نہیں سکتا پسر، فکر میں شبیر کی سوتی نہیں تھی رات بھر. ڈھونڈتی ہے آپ کو آنکھیں ہماری ہر جگہ، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں. جب تلک زندہ ہے ہم کو خون رلائے گا یہ غم، آپ کا دربار میں جانا نہیں بھولیں گے ہم، کر دیا امت نے ہائے آپ کو ہم سے جدا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں؟ سن کے نوحہ اشک بار اہل عزا ہونے لگے، قبر میں حسنین ماں کی یاد میں رونے لگے، جس گھڑی ذیشان اور عمران نے نوحہ پڑھا، ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں؟ ماں آپ ہے کہاں، آپ ہے کہاں؟ الفاتحہ۔
برآل نبی اولاد علی بآواز بلند صلوات۔ انگلی پکڑ کے چلایا سینے سے اپنے لگایا، ان 3 سالوں میں اماں تم نے بہت کچھ سکھایا، ماں سے بچھڑ کے جیتے ہیں کیسے، کیا یہ سکھاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ دروازہ جب سے گرا ہے پہلو شکستہ ہوا ہے، ٹوٹی ہوئی پسلیاں ہیں، شبیر سب جانتا ہے، تکلیف میں ہوں بچوں کو اپنے کب یہ بتاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ قصہ مجھے ایک ماں کا بھیا حسن نے سنایا، بیٹا وہیں سامنے تھا جب ماں نے کھایا تماچا، اب اپنے گھر میں بیٹوں سے اپنا چہرہ چھپاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ جب سے لگا تازیانہ مشکل تھا مجھ کو سلانا، جب ہاتھ دیکھا تمہارا تب جا کے میں نے یہ جانا، ہو ہاتھ زخمی پھر بھی تھپک کر لوری سناتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ شبیر نے پھر صدا دی، کیا چھوڑ جاؤ گی تم بھی، کیوں ایسا کہتی ہو اماں، رہتی نہیں ماں کسی کی، اچھا بتاؤ کیا دور جا کے پھر لوٹ آتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ ایک روز ایسا بھی آیا تھا فاطمہ کا جنازہ، رخ سے کفن جب ہٹایا شبیر نے ماں سے پوچھا، زیر کفن بھی آواز سن کر آنسو بہاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ زہرا کی تربت پہ جا کر دیکھا علی نے اکثر، شبیر لپٹے ہوئے ہیں، کہتے ہیں اماں چلو گر، کہتے ہیں اماں چلو گر، تم جانتی ہو سوتا ہوں میں جب مجھ کو سلاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ بن ماں کے بچوں سے آ کے جب حال پوچھا علی نے، ہائے رضا اور ذیشان، شبیر رو رو کے بولے، اے بابا گھر میں لگتا نہیں دل، اے بابا گھر میں لگتا نہیں دل، جب یاد آتی ہے ماں کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، 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 ہائے کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں، کیوں چھوڑ جاتی ہے ماں۔ صلوات پر محمد۔
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Can I ask you all to recite the Surah Fatiha for Murhuma, Sugrabai, Anverali, Ramji and Kul Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. The next part of our program is now Majlis by Sheikh Nabil Awan. Please welcome him to the mimbar with 3 loud salawat. Oh.
There's a request if everyone could please move forward as much as they can so those that are coming afterwards can have some space to sit as well, please. Please recite loud salawat and move forward. No. ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Mirziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. We have gathered in order to remember a mother, a grandmother, a sister, an aunt, but above all of those, a dedicated servant to the community, a dedicated servant to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And there is no greater legacy that anyone can leave in their charter of deeds as one that had served in the way of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Because that service is the ultimate thing that will gain that individual that shafa'ah of Ahlul Bayt and entry into the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm sure you've all have very fond memories of Murhuma. I know I myself, having been a neighbor of hers for over 10 years plus in Eastgate, have many fond memories of running between the two houses and taking food from one house to our house and from ours to hers. Much of the days, it's Shahr Ramadan, outside of Shahr Ramadan. And that level of love that she showed towards us is something that will always remain in our hearts and in our minds. But when it comes to the death of an individual, more so for those that remain, it's an opportunity for them to take stock of their own lives, to see what sort of legacy is it that I'm leaving behind. As the greatest legacy is the one of service to Ahlul Bayt, service to the deen. But what is it that I'm leaving behind? How is it that people will remember me? Everyone wants to be remembered in a good way. Now, that is one of the most important issues. That can I be remembered when I leave this world in a good way? Will people think of me fondly? Will they think of me in a good way? Will they honor me? And this matter of honor and humiliation is so important in the religion that there has been constant reference to remembering the good that people do, hiding the evil that you have seen from them, honoring their legacy. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad is standing to recite Salat al-Mayyit for an individual, and just before he starts, he begins to hear people behind him saying, oh, he was like this, he was like this, he was like this, he did this to me, he did this to me, all in the negative. The Holy Prophet stopped. He turned to the people, he says, is there anyone that has anything nice to say about this individual? And so one person puts his hand up. He says, yes, we were on sentry duty one night. I was getting very tired. And so this individual came and said, look, why don't you go and sleep and I'll stand and take your position as guard. The Holy Prophet says, this is enough. And he begins to recite the Salatul Mayyit. Even one matter is enough for an individual at times to become a person whom the Holy Prophet of Islam recites Salatul Mayyit over. And so to talk about the good of an individual, in Du'a Makarimul Akhlaq, when the fourth Imam is talking about the characteristics of the Muttaqeen, and he says, Al-Bisni Zinat al-Muttaqeen fi Bast al-Adl wa Kadhmi al-Ghayth. Amongst the characteristics that he speaks, that those that are God conscious have, he says, وَإِفْشَاءِ الْعَارِفَ وَسَطْرِ الْآعِبَةِ, that they are those individuals that spread good about people. When they have seen something good, they spread that about people and they hide that bad that they have seen. More often than not, we do the opposite. Any good that we see from someone, we try and in some way bring that down, and all the bad or negative that we know of that person, we try and we bring that up. But that is not allowed. Disrespecting, humiliating another believer is absolutely not allowed. nor is it allowed for an individual to disrespect themselves. The narrations are plentiful where it says it is not allowed for a believer to humiliate themselves. So at times, this legacy that we're trying to create becomes marred by what people say, but that doesn't really matter, especially if there's no basis for it. But the other side of it is sometimes our own actions bring us into a state of disrepute or drag us towards humiliation. And I want to look at that particular aspect. What are those actions that bring a person towards humiliation? Seeing as though we have still an opportunity to change our ways, to leave this world in a way that we are honored. So in this particular narration, the Holy Prophet says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, says, Ya Ali, thamaniyatu in uhinu fala yulumu illa anfusahum. Please recite salawat. Allah. There are 8 characteristics, 8 types of individual whom are disrespected, are humiliated, but they have no one to blame but themselves. They brought it upon themselves. And we're going to look at these 8 groups, these 8 characteristics that the Holy Prophet tells Amir al-Mu'mineen about. The first says, الذاهب إلى مائدة لم يدعى إليها. Says the individual who goes and he sits to eat without being invited. So he sees that there's someone sitting there eating, goes over and starts to eat the food that that person has. Or some people just have a really bad habit. You know, there'll be some sort of food or something that's there, someone's eating, and they'll just walk over and say, oh, can I just have a chip? And they'll put their hands in. It says, this is something that will cause an individual to become humiliated. It will lower that person. The one that attends or turns up to a table of food or to someone that's eating without an invitation. But on the flip side, there is another thing. If I'm sitting there eating, then the adab of that, and there are people around, is that I should invite them also. So it's a two-way street. But for now, we focus on that person. The second thing that the Holy Prophet tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, وَالْمُتَأَمَّرُ عَلَى رَبَّ الْبَيْتِ. Says that individual that will become humiliated is one who, or invites humiliation towards himself, is when he's in the house of someone else. He begins to command that person or begins to order things from that person. Bring me this, bring me that. And amongst the adab of being a guest is that when the host has presented everything to you, don't ask for anything else. You know, don't ask for, oh, do you have, I don't know, chili sauce or whatever it may be. You know, you're there, humble yourself in that particular gathering. So the second thing that brings humiliation towards an individual is when they go into the house of someone else and they begin to order around the owner of that particular house. The third thing that that the Holy Prophet tells him, he says, وَطَالِبُ الْخَيْرِ مِنْ أَعْدَائِهِ. The individual that hopes, that tries to receive good from his enemy. And this is extremely important because there's so many different levels that we could speak about this. An individual who's in the hope or is requesting good from his enemy, someone who is your sworn enemy, and you go towards them in the hope that they're going to do something good. Obviously, they're not going to reply to you with any good. They're always going to, in some way, belittle you when you go knocking at that door. They will never have your best interests at heart. Rather, they will actively seek your destruction because That is the nature of the enemy. The greatest enemy of all is shaitan. He's constantly inviting us towards his path, but yet when it gets to the crunch on the day of judgment, says, Inni akhafullah Rabbil Alameen. I have nothing to do with these individuals. I fear the Lord of the worlds. Everything they did was off their own back. All I did was whisper. And so he is that sworn enemy. But especially in the society that we live in, where there is not a overtly Islamic culture, one has to be extremely wary as to what it is that we are hoping from those that are the enemies of Islam, enemies of the religion. And we must at times protect ourselves, our next generations, from those challenges, from those issues. The very fabric of the society that we are living in is deteriorating. You know, every single day there's some new facade, some new deviancy that is rearing its head. It's wearing away at the moral fabric of this society. And so we have to look forward as to how it is that we're going to protect ourselves and our future generations. If we hope that by sitting around and doing nothing, that there will be others who will hope that will do good to us, that's never going to be the case. Because those that are your sworn enemies, the enemies of your religion, though on the face of it they may be nice, but deep down inside there is that hatred. They will never ever be doing anything towards you that is in your best interests. And that discussion can go as deep as we want, but at least on the fundamental level, it harks towards the importance of having our own schools, at least. An opportunity to mold the youngest generation, so that we can in some way inoculate them against the immorality that exists outside. But if we sit back and are not in that environment where we're inoculating, then we will begin to become victim of that immorality as well. And we will see it more and more. And so even those that may chase higher educational standards, well then we should have those higher educational standards in-house. And we should have those that are teaching, that have the best interests of those students at heart. Something for us to think about. That without that idea, without that system, we're fighting a losing battle. Because the immorality right now has no bounds. It just continues to develop and evolve, and we're still always maybe 5 to 10 years behind the current immorality that is being spread. So the third thing that the Holy Prophet says is the one who requests or desires good from the individual that is his enemy, that will cause you to be humiliated. وَطَالِبُ الْفَضْلِ مِنَ اللَّآمِ, the one who hopes to find some sort of virtue, some sort of good from an individual that is wretched. You know that this person themselves is an evil person, is a wretched person. And everything that they do is wretched, everything that they do is deviant, but yet you pin your hopes on hoping to receive or see some good out of this person. At times, there comes a time where you do amr bil ma'roof and nahy anil munkar until the point where you think there's just no hope. Now it's time to walk away from these individuals. You keep going, keep trying. But then in the desire to see good from a wretched person, you may end up losing yourself. If not through your own actions, but by association. See, a person is known by the company that they keep. And sometimes we tend to justify the company that we keep when others tell us it's bad company by saying, oh, no, I'm trying to change the person, I'm trying to change the person, by constantly being around them. But the issue of the wretched person is such that they will turn you, sooner they will turn you wretched than they themselves will become a believer. So at one point a person has to look and cut their losses. The prophets of God did this. They tried, and eventually they said, well, we've tried as much as we can, now it's the turn of Allah to send His adhab. So, being in the company of an individual that is like that. Then the next thing the Imam says, he says, وَالدَّاخِلُ بَيْنَ إِثْنَيْنِ فِي سِرٍ لَهُمْ لَمْ يُدْخِلَاهُ فِيهِ. Says an individual who forces himself in between two individuals, in between a particular matter that is between them, it's a secret between them, he forces himself in between them without even being invited. There are many people who claim to have their ear to the ground. That's how we justify our, looking into the lives of people. Oh, I've just got my ear to the ground. But in reality, they enjoy the drama. They enjoy the rumors. They enjoy all of that. So they force themselves into that situation. Maybe from a position of authority. They come in and they say, oh, no, look, let me help you. I can help solve this. It can be anything, between two people, between a husband and wife, between two mu'mineen. And they force themselves in. Some people just have this habit of trying to get involved in everything, even when they're not invited. The Holy Prophet says a person that does that invites humiliation towards themselves. In cases of arbitration, one has to be really careful when getting involved, especially when it's between two people, one person's haqq has been taken. And I involve myself, even if I'm invited to be involved, one has to be extremely careful in that position. This person is owed £10 or £100 and this person hasn't paid back. And then they both like me, so I get in the middle and say, oh, look, you know what? Let's just call it 50. Is that okay? He will give you your £50 back. You forgive 50. And they both sort of, one side is happy and the other side is disgruntled, but agrees because of me. That matter is solved here. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, they'll grab me. Who did you think you were, minusing £50 from the haqq of that believer? So when one gets involved in these matters, then you have to be just. And so it's extremely important, especially in matters of dhawil huquq, when both sides have a right over you. Both sides have a right over you. And an individual gets involved in that. Someone came to see the famous Arif, Muhammad Husaini Gharavi Isfahani. And they came to him and they said, look, whatever I do in my life, there's no barakah in it. Overnight, all of my rizq has seemed to, it's as if it's all the taps have stopped and I've become destitute. No matter what I try, I can't seem to reignite or reopen that tap of sustenance. So, Muhammad Hussain asks him, says that, have you infringed the right of anyone? He says, no, I try and maintain the right of everyone. He says, no, think again. Is there someone that you could have offended, you've stepped on their right, that this has happened? He thought long and hard. He says, the only thing that comes to my mind is that one day my mother and my wife were arguing. And I stepped in the middle And I knew that my wife was right in this particular argument. I stepped in the middle and I berated my mother. I told her, look, you're wrong in this. And I supported my wife. Now both sides, this is what we're talking about, the huquq, where both sides have a right over you. So as I stepped in, I supported my wife over my mother. And then afterwards I went and I knew my mother was upset. I apologized to her. And she sort of said, yes, okay. And I came. Muhammad Hussein, he says to him, that your mother still hasn't forgiven you. He says, this is the reason for why your rizq has stopped. You need to go and apologize properly. And then the doors of your rizq will open. And so he goes towards his mother. He falls at her feet. He apologizes to her. And she says to him, now I have forgiven you, truly. At that time you came and you just sort of said it. I'm sorry. You just said it just like that. But I hadn't forgiven you from the depth of my heart. But now you've come and genuinely shown that you are sorry. She says, I forgive you. The man says that after that, it was as if all of the doors of his sustenance opened for him. And that just doesn't apply to when your mother is alive or when your parents are still alive. Even when they are gone, they still gone from this mortal realm into the barzakh. They continue to exist. Even from there, they have rights over you. Look at Gunahani Kabira and of Ayatollah Dastagib, and in there, when he, under the chapter of Aqi Walidain, those that have been disowned by their parents, he talks about being disowned by your parents that have left this world. Those individuals that do not remember their parents, that do not do good for them, that do not give sadaqah for them, that do not pray for them, that do not do good in their names. It says, from the grave, they may have left this world happy with their child. But because their child, no matter how old the child becomes, but because that child has forgotten them, they still hold the right of disowning their child from the grave. And they will pray to Allah and say, Ya Allah, this child of mine has forgotten me. I disown them. And then all of these issues that we have in our lives in terms of rizq and all that can potentially stem from there. And it also works the other way. If a parent left this world angry at their child or children, now that child does good, does sadaqah on behalf of the parents, does good actions on behalf of the parents, they can choose to forgive and take that child back from the barzakh. They hold this very special maqam in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, both alive and dead. This is one of those things, one of those three things that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma sallallahu alayhi wa says that it doesn't matter whether someone is a mu'min, a Muslim or a kafir, these three things apply. One is respect of the parents, the two is fulfilling your promises, and three is not betraying trusts. So it doesn't matter who the person is. Be they a believer or be they an atheist, they still have these three rights over you. The sixth thing that the Imam says, he says, وَالْمُسْتَخِفُّ بِسُلْطَانٍ, the one who takes the king lightly. And this is in two ways, be it, and obviously the idea of monarchy we don't even accept as an Islamic concept, but even if one is an adil monarch, or then more than likely, if you can find one nowadays, but more than likely there will be those that are dhalim. says that it is good for the believer to know, to tread lightly in the presence, even if it's someone that is adil, because they still hold that power to be to humiliate you. And so you see when the early Muslims went to Najashi in Najran, and the way that they address him, treading lightly, respecting him, because they knew that this was an individual who would give them sanctuary as per the order of the Holy Prophet. And at any moment, an adil king in that position can become a dhalim. And so one has to tread lightly. And the oppression that is done by kings is spoken about many a times in narrations, especially when it comes to Akhirul Zaman. There's a lengthy tradition from the Holy Prophet where he talks about, he says, that there will come upon the people a time, Ya'ti al-nasi zaman. And then he lists a number of things that they will do. They will forget the Quran, all that will remain of the Quran will be them learning it. Nothing will remain of their iman except their names. That will be the only indication that this person is a Muslim. They won't have any semblance of Islam. It's just going to be culture and tradition that they fulfill, not actual submission. And many things like this. He goes, and then he says, and when this happens in a nation, it says, "Masajiduhum ma'mura wa qulubuhum kharabun min al-huda," that they will create masajid, but their hearts will be devoid of any sort of guidance, any sort of inclination towards God. It says, when this time comes, then certain things will happen. Droughts will come upon them, evil ministers will be placed above them. وَجَوْرٌ مِنَ السُّلْطَانِ, and they will face oppression from the kings. So throughout the narrations, we have this constant reference of a time when a king can turn bad over its peoples. And so the Holy Prophet is saying that tread lightly. There are many that enjoy the company of said individuals. Whatever that person may hold, be it a royal or be it someone that is a minister or whatever, says tread lightly around them, because at any point that position could get to their heads and you will be the first to suffer that wrath. The next thing that the Imam says, وَالْجَالِسُ فِي مَجْلِسٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ بِأَهْلٍ, to sit in the gathering or a gathering where that person is not worthy of that particular gathering, is not someone that should be in that gathering. Either is an imposter or somehow has found himself in that gathering. It says that will invite humiliation towards you. If I go and sit amongst the gathering of, a group of engineers, and then I start giving them my knowledge of engineering, which is nil, but somehow I think that, I'm going to sit there, obviously it's going to lead to my humiliation. Or as a simple student of the religion, I go and sit amongst the maraji and start giving them my opinion, then that's going to obviously bring humiliation towards me. So that's one side of it. The other side is that the greatness of the believer should not allow him to sit in the gathering of those that are evil, that are sinners. He should not find himself in such gatherings, in such places, because that will cause him to be humiliated. Again, it goes back to that idea of the company that we keep. And that has many knock-on effects as well. If you look in Dua Abu Hamza Thumali of Imam al-Sajjad, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala. Where the Imam, there's a portion of it where the Imam alayhi salam, he talks about, says, oh Allah, I don't know what it is. Whenever I feel that my inner self is becoming more inclined towards you, and I find that my gatherings are becoming the gatherings of the tawabin, then something happens that pulls me away. Whenever I prepare myself to pray to you in the middle of the night, ألقيت علي نعاسا إذا أنا صليت, you cast sleep upon me. Every time I think I'm going towards the right place, something happens and I falter. And then the Imam lists 12 or 13 reasons why. Why it is that this situation would happen. Because then he says, سيدي لعلك عن بابك تردتني وعن خدمتك ناهيتني. Let it not be the case that you have expelled me from your door, pushed me away from your door, and removed me from your service. Then he lists the reasons for why that would happen. Says, maybe it is because you found me in the gathering of the liars. Maybe it is because you found me amongst the wrongdoers. Maybe it is you found me here, found me there. All of these things, the Imam says, a lot of them refer to the company that one keeps. Says, because of that you pushed me away. Because of that I was pushed away from your door, away from your service. And on the flip side, you go to Munajat al-Arifin of, again, Imam al-Sajjad, and you see what he talks about the characteristics of the Gnostics, of the Urafa. He says, and place me. He doesn't say make me. He says, place me amongst those individuals who the trees of yearning for you have taken root in their chests. Place me amongst those individuals whose thoughts are pure even when they are alone. So the Imam here is giving us a key that the company that we keep is the most important thing that we can do on this journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keeping good company will aid us on this journey. Surrounding ourselves with good people, surrounding ourselves with believers is something that will aid us a lot more. Then the last thing that the Imam says, he says, وَالْمُقْبِلُ بِالْحَدِيثِ عَلَى مَنْ لَا يَسْمَعُ مِنْهِ, says to narrate, to relay the words of an individual, something that I myself have not even heard, that I haven't heard from that person. But I relay it, and we do this all the time. Oh, I read on the internet that Fulan marja doesn't get on with that marja. Or this person said this. Where did you? I don't know, I heard that he said this. And we base everything on hearsay. Everything that we say is on hearsay. And eventually it gets to that point where an individual becomes humiliated because they get called out for this constant lying or attributing a saying to others. And so one has to be extremely careful in how it is that they relay information or what they say about others. So these 8 points that the Holy Prophet tells Amirul Mu'mineen, says, if a person does these 8 things and calls humiliation towards himself, then he has no one to blame but himself. To maintain the honor of the believer is essential. To bring dishonor, to bring humiliation is not allowed in any way, be that upon myself or towards anyone else. The izzah of the believer, the honor of the believer is greater than that of the sanctity of the Kaaba itself. That if it comes between dishonoring or humiliating a believer or destroying the Kaaba, says that the believer takes precedent. The honor of the believer takes precedent. You cannot destroy the character of a believer. And as I said at the start, that death, when it comes to us, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on our own lives. What is it that I have done? What is it that I hope to achieve with whatever life Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me? Because every moment that goes, I don't get it back. There's no way of turning back that clock and bringing back those moments. So every moment that I have is one that I need to constantly cherish and utilize it as a stepping stone towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, it will reach the end of that time and I will look back and I will mourn over the life that I had. Those same people that enter into the barzakh and they say, oh, just let us back one last time. We'll go back, we'll change. We'll do things differently. And the voice will come to them and say, no, these are lies that you tell. Now there is no return for you. There is a barzakh between you and them until the day that you will be resurrected. And so whatever life that we have, whatever opportunity that we have, we need to grab hold of it. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَالْفُرَسَةُ تَمَرُّ مَرَّ السَّحَابِ. Says opportunities are like clouds. Grab hold of them before they pass you by. Otherwise you'll be in a state of, I wish, how I could have, if only I had. And in that hasra, in that sadness of, oh, if only I could have, one misses that opportunity that they have in front of them. We've come to remember a mother, as I said at the start. And one of the beauties of the madhab of Ahlul Bayt is this, that no matter how big the pain, how big the sorrow that we have in our lives, we have one place where we place all of that sorrow. And we turn to them and we say to them that no matter what my sorrow is, the difficulties of the day of Ashura are much greater. There are many examples, many heart-wrenching places throughout all of the stories of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam that one could relay. You heard in the Marthiyah the difficulties of Imam Hassan and Imam al-Husayn bidding farewell to their mother. That moment when Amir al-Mu'mineen calls them, he says, come, this is the final farewell from your mother. And they throw themselves on the body of their mother. Both these young children, Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Husayn, weeping loudly until a voice comes from the heavens, Ya Ali, lift the children from their mother. For by Allah, the angels of the heavens have begun to cry. And Amir al-Mu'mineen goes with love and he lifts the orphans of Zahra alayha salam from her body. And I often say that, Ya Ali, with so much love you lifted the orphans of Zahra from the body of their mother. But Ya Ali, where were you on the day of Ashura? When the orphan of Husayn was on the body of her father. And there was no one around to comfort her. Rather, the enemy surrounded her. اجتمعت عليها عدة من الأعراب. A group of the enemies, the soldiers surrounded her. فجروها عن جسد أبيها. And they pulled her with force from the body of her father. There was that moment in Karbala. The way of the world is what? That the children must bury their parents. That is the way of the world. But Karbala showed us a whole different way, where now sons are being dropped in front of their fathers, and fathers are coming to the lifeless bodies of their sons. When it comes to that pain of Aba Abdullah, there is only one place on the day of Ashura that Husayn alayhi salam fainted upon the body of someone, and that was at the body of his son Ali Akbar. When Ali Akbar had gone out to fight, according to some narrations, the mother of Ali watched the battle of Ali through the face of Abu Abdullah, until one point where fear and sorrow filled the face of Imam al-Hussein. She called out, Ya Abu Abdullah, is my Ali Akbar okay? Imam al-Hussein turns to her, he says, Layla, he is fine, but he fights against a strong opponent. Layla, Allah never rejects the dua of a mother. Raise your hands and do dua for your son Ali to return to us one last time. She enters inside the tents. She raises her hands towards the heavens. Ilahi bi'atashi Abi Abdullah, Ilahi bi'ghurbati Abi Abdullah, Ya Rad Yusuf ila Ya'qub, Ya Rad Musa ila Urdud ilayya waladi Ali. Oh Allah, for the sake of the thirst of Abu Abdullah, oh Allah, for the sake of the loneliness of Abu Abdullah, oh the one that returned Yusuf back to Yaqub, oh the one that returned Musa back to his mother, return my son Ali back to me. Ali Akbar kills Bakr ibn al-Ghanim and he returns back to the tents. Imam al-Hussein welcomes his Ali. There are certain emotions that passed over the face of Abu Abdullah. The first was happiness as he saw his son Ali return. The second was sadness in seeing the state of his Ali. But the third, they say, was the one of shame when his son Ali turned to him. He said, Father, al-'atash qad qatalani. Father, the thirst is killing me. وثقل الحديد قد أجأدني هل لي شربة من الماء السبيل. Father, the armor is taking the strength from my body. Is there a drop of water that Ali could drink? At this moment, Abu Abdullah says to him, Ali, place your tongue on my tongue. Ali Akbar goes, he sees his mother, he goes out for the last time. When he calls out to Abi Abdullah for the last time, Imam al-Hussein goes towards his body. Some say that he ran and stumbled, others say that he crawled, some say he threw himself from the horse and he crawled on his hands and on his elbows and his knees, calling out, Ya Ali, where are you? But all of them end in the same way, that he threw himself on the body of his Ali Akbar. He wiped the dirt from his cheeks, he wiped the blood from his teeth. وَضَعَ خَدَّهُ عَلَى خَدَّهِ. He placed his cheeks on the cheeks of his Ali Akbar. The state of Ali was such in front of Hussein that the Maqtal says, فَقَدْتُؤُوهُ بِصِيُوفِهِمْ إِرْبًا. They had mutilated the body. When Hussein saw his Ali in this state, the first thing that came from his mouth, عَلَى الدُّنْيَا بَعْدَكَ الْأَفَا. Ali, what pleasure is there left in this dunya? And he fainted at the body of Ali. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, for the sake of this Masa'ib, for the sake of these tears for Abu Abdullah, Ya Allah, illuminate the grave of our dear Sugra Auntie Ramji. Remove for her any difficulties of the Akhirah. Place her amongst and in the company of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, keep safe our ulama and our maraji and keep them at the head of our institutions. Ya Allah, liberate the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, give victory to every oppressed person over their oppressor wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhirin, his true waiters. At the end, I would request you all to remember Murhuma with the recitation of Surah Fatiha, 3 times Surah Ikhlas. But before that, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Can I please again ask you to recite the Surah Fatiha for Murhuma, Sugrabai, Anverali, Ramji, and Kul Marhumin, Al-Fatiha. Before we go to our final item for this afternoon, I just wanted to say a few words in honor of Murhuma, Sugrabai, Anverali, Ramji, who we have gathered for here today to remember. Now, this was actually written by Husaini Ismail, and as I explained, he's not well and couldn't be with us today. So can I ask that we all pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses mine and yours, all our family and friends that are not well, to bless them and grant them shafa to gain good health. Sugra Aunty was one of 9 children of the eldest daughter of Marhum Muhammad Ali Haji Ismail and Kulsum Bai Ismail. Sugra Aunty was born and raised in Kampala, Uganda. After finishing her schooling, she married Anwar uncle. They had 3 children, Kaniz, Muhammad and Murtaza. Kaniz and Muhammad were both born in Kampala, and Murtaza was born in this historic town we all know and love as Peterborough. Uncle and Auntie, along with their family and community members, had to leave East Africa in 1972 when Idi Amin expelled the Asians from Uganda. This was a struggle and a stressful time for most, but alhamdulillah, with the help of the Almighty, they stayed in the refugee camps for around a year and then moved and settled in Peterborough. Peterborough was where Sugra Aunty spent the majority of her adult life, and this is where her kids grew up and then got married and had kids of their own. Sugra Aunty really cherished her 2 families, first her own family, and then secondly her community. The Peterborough Jamaat had been a part of her life for nearly 50 years. The Ramji family would have been one of the first families to settle in Peterborough, and remember when this centre was purchased and built in the 1970s. Sugra Aunty was involved within the community in various roles, including being a volunteer and also being a part of the Niyaz committee. As I mentioned, she really loved her family, her husband, her kids, her grandchildren, but also she had a big space in her life for the rest of her extended family. Sugra Aunty had a strong bond with her in-laws, but in particular Marhuma Fatma Bai and Layla Bai Ramji, who were there for each other in good times and also the trying times. A lot of you will be aware that Marhuma had 7 brothers and only 1 sister. And being the eldest sister, most of the brothers referred to her as Bai. She had a long and strong bond with all her siblings, their partners and their children. And Husain puts a personal note. He says, when Husain was born, after telling his own father, the good news, his father then went to his sister's house. As he entered her house, before he could tell her anything, she said that she had had a dream. Sugra Aunty had had a dream. In her dream, she saw that her brother Sultan had become a father again to a lovely, beautiful boy, and that in her dream, she had named him Husain. As Sultan uncle left his sister's house, he was a little worried as his grandfather had already named Husain Muhammad, given the name Muhammad. Sultan uncle was now in a dilemma as to what to name his son and which name he should choose. And he didn't want to disappoint his father or his sister. With this, he then spoke to one of his friends who suggested that he should use both names as not to disappoint either. And please remember, in those days, double-barreled names were not that common, and so Husnain was named Muhammad Husnain. Murhuma Sugrabai was a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, a devotee, and she managed to complete her Hajj and also had been to the Ziyarat of the 14 Masumeen. In recent times, whenever any family member would go to Umrah or Ziyarat, she would always ask them to pray for her, wishing she could go at least once more. But unfortunately, Allah had different plans. On the 30th of November 2023, she was called back to her Maker. This has been a very hard time for the family, but with the sabr granted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the support of the family, friends, and the community at large, we're all coming to terms with this great loss. The family would like to express their sincere gratitude to all those who attended the funeral and have attended today. Those that could not attend have called or messaged us with their condolences and have all helped us in this grieving process. The family would also like to thank the management committee of Peterborough Jamaat for facilitating the funeral and also today's gathering. We would also like to thank everyone that has helped us during the last month, but a special mention of thanks to all the volunteers, the Ghusl, Kafan and Dafan Committee, the Niyaz Committee, car park volunteers, and to all those who have tirelessly worked in the background. Thank you to all the reciters who participated today, and a special thanks to Sheikh Nabil for an enlightening and inspiring Majlis. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our beloved Murhuma Sugrabai Anverali Ramji for any of her shortcomings and give her a place in proximity to the Ahlul Bayt. If Murhuma has hurt anyone, then we request you to forgive her. If there is anything that is still owing to anyone, then please either forgive her or contact any member of the family for the matter to be resolved. Please can I ask you to recite another Surah Fatiha for Murhuma Sugrabai Anverali Ramji and all the Marhumeens of the Ramji, Ismail and Lakhani family and Kul Marhumeen. Al-Fatiha. We will now conclude today's program with the recitation of Ziyarat Ashara by Brother Muhammad Siddiq Jafar. Please kindly stand, prepare for Ziyarah.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشيائهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجانا، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله الشمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام حدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مسابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما عظمها وعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر طابع إنه على ذلك. اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم جميعا. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثاني والثالث الرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد والشمرة وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيته. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم صل على. السلام عليك جميعا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته، وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأوانك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآله.
Please kindly be seated so that the niyas can be served.